everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to the inaugural Student ICA Symposium, Expect Miracles. My name is Kelly Kimball, and I'm the current president of the Student ICA at Palmer. And we are thrilled to welcome 9 incredible chiropractors from around the world to be with us today. I'd like to welcome our first speaker, Dr. Matt Hill, to the stage. Dr. Hill specializes in helping children with special needs and developmental delays. Today, he'll be sharing with us how to create impact in what you are called to do. Please welcome Dr. Hill.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Man, the inaugural. It's pretty cool, right? Big hand again for Kelly and team. They did awesome, guys. So today, and you can call me Matt, by the way. I was just a student 2 years ago, so it's kind of funny when I saw the lineup for this and I saw all the amazing speakers, and I was like, dear God, I hope I don't have to go up to Dr. Peter or Dr. Heidi. Yeah, I'd be done. But and I also saw the lineup and I noticed that we're doing it here, and I saw Heidi's name on it. And now I understand why I'm going first and she's going last. So you'll understand that when she goes. But today, I'm here to do two things. To do two things for you. Because I'm only 2 years out of school, I wanted to pick two. And those two are to inspire you to do what you love. Inspire you to do what you love in practice, and give you the certainty to do what you can and to do what you do. Now, a lot of you might ask me, why is it 2 year out? I still think I'm pretty young in the game here and speaking to you. And there's a lot of reasons, but the first one is because I want to provide you value today. I want to provide you value that I didn't necessarily get when I started in school or when I started here at Palmer. And for those of you who don't know, I went to Palmer and been out now for 2 years. And when I started, I came into chiropractic with a view of what it was that was very different than what it was even a month into the program. Have any of you had that experience?
Yes.
Yes? How many students are in the room? Okay, ton of students. Perfect. So I know a lot of you have probably had that amazing story with chiropractic that got you here, right? There's not many people, there's some, and it's okay if there is, but there's not a whole lot of people that come into this profession that's like, well, I didn't want to do this, or I couldn't get into this, so I'll do this. Most people have that experience that changes their life, is for them or for a family member or something along the line that pushes them to become a chiropractor. So you have this view of what chiropractic is, of what an adjustment is, of what practice is, and then you start school, right? And it's different. Not good or bad necessarily, but it's different. And it was that for me. I had this view of what it was, and I got here to Palmer, and gosh, probably a week in, I remember calling my dad and saying, this isn't what I thought it was. He's like, well, you got a family, bud, so you better buck up, and you're on student loans now. You don't have another job, so you better figure this out. So I did, right? I figured it out. And what I learned along the way is what I want to share with you. And I want to share you my story because although it's not your why, it's my why. And it's how I got to the place I'm at now, and the little struggles along the way of how to find that congruence when different people tell you different things, and it may be contrary to what you believe or what you truly want to do. And so that's where I want to share my story today, and that's why I want to go in depth with you. So if you guys know me, I have 4 kids. I'm a dad at heart, and you're probably thinking, how is this guy only practicing 2 years? Because he's definitely not 26 and just graduated. No, I'm not. I'm 34. 4 kids, had 1 in chiropractic school, which if you've had a kid in chiropractic school, Camille, I see you there, not easy, right? Not easy. And then another child after that. So I have 4 boys at home, so I'm definitely a dad, and this is my second career. So I didn't stumble upon chiropractic by accident. I came to chiropractic because one day my life changed. Who in here has kids? Okay. Would you, and I don't think this is a large venture to go, is when you had kids, your life changed, right? Pretty much the day to the day that baby was born, your life changed. And my life changed when we had our first son, Micah, 9 years ago. And it came a little sooner than I expected. Micah was born a month early, and about 4 days up to his birth, we didn't quite know what to expect because we had to go to the hospital quite a bit. We were getting ultrasounds daily. My wife Crystal's fluid was low. His heart rate was high. We were scared. And my background, I knew nothing about healthcare. I came out of college as a business degree. I was working for Target Corporate, and I thought everything was, hunky-dory. I was on the fast track, right? Fast track in the corporate world. And I knew nothing about healthcare, and here we are having to go every day for the health of my son when I've never been to a hospital before, I've never been to an OB before. Tons of questions and not a whole lot of answers. And one day I remember picking up the phone, and I was carrying my phone around with it like loudest ringer because baby could come any day. My wife says, hey, we got to go to the hospital today because Mike is going to come. Now it's a month early, so I didn't know what to expect. So I rush over there. Don't know how I made it safely. I was speeding like crazy, but rush over to the hospital. And no more than an hour later, they have her all prepped. She's in the gown. She's in the thing. They got to do an emergency C-section. Doctor shakes my hand and says, don't worry. We got everything under control. And I'm literally, Dad, shaking, literally dry vomiting outside the room because I'm scared to death. I have no idea what to expect. So I go out. We have our son, Micah, not a half hour later, and all the docs are like, hey, Mike is stable, but we're a little concerned about a couple things. So we need you to come with him and go to do an MRI right now. And this is a newborn, so I literally haven't even held him. I played with him a little bit on the table and making sure everything's okay, and they're rushed him to an MRI. And I'm standing there with him in this MRI, and I don't know if you've ever seen a newborn in an MRI, but they literally have to strap them down. They have to tie him up, strap him down so they don't move, and he hasn't seen Mom, hasn't really been held by me, and here he is getting this MRI screaming, and it just sucked the life out of him. I was like, I didn't even know what to do. Suddenly my world had completely changed by just having a child, but here there's a child I can do nothing for. And so went through the MRI, then it was the waiting game. Went back to our room. Micah, he was struggling to nurse a little bit, had some things where we're really low tone and some things like that, and the neurologist came in and if you've ever been in a hospital setting when some doctor comes in that you don't know and says, I have good news and I have bad news, it's not a whole lot of good news. That's not a really good thing to hear. And so the good news was Micah's life wasn't in danger. They thought he might have hydrocephalus, didn't have hydrocephalus, didn't have too much water on his brain. He was stable. Brain wasn't in danger. But the bad news is he was born without part of his brain. He was born without his corpus callosum, the communicating part between the right and left hemisphere. And that was a shock to us. It was something that, to be honest, the neurologist said our OB should have recognized from early on. We didn't catch it. And from that point, we knew our life had totally changed. It had totally shifted from where we thought we were going to be to where, the next 20 years looked. And I still remember being in that hospital room and, I had nothing to do with healthcare. And so what did I do? I turned to Dr. Google, and I remember that just caused me and my wife to completely break down. We had no idea where to go. And I remember being in the bathroom there because I was scared to let my emotions out in front of the nurses and everybody coming in and out. I just remember crying and saying, you know what? I don't know what the future's going to hold, but I got to do everything I can for my son. I got to do everything I can. Parents in the room, you've had that moment, right? For your kids, we're like, I will do everything for this kid. And we were thrust into that when Micah was a day old. And so we started on a journey. And knowing my background, chiropractic didn't come first. We went to and we looked for the best neurologist. We looked for the absolute best therapist. We looked for every single thing we could to try to help Micah to be the best version of himself. And long story short, we found the best of the best person in Tucson, Arizona. His name was Dr. Gray. Still remember the meeting we had with him. He was a brain neurologist, literally the best, recommended so highly. And we had been to a few meetings before with other doctors, and they all said, oh, go see this guy. So we get in this room, and we're sitting there with Dr. Gray, and he's watching Micah play. Micah's about 4 months old, and we say, okay, Doc, what do we need to do? We'll do anything. We'll go anywhere. We'll go to any country, any therapy. We'll save up our money. We'll do whatever it takes. And do you know what he said? He said, save your money and go to Disneyland. I kid you not. He said that to me and my wife. And at that point, Crystal was crying, didn't know what to say. And I'm trying to comfort her and say it's okay. And he says, you know what, honestly, I get a lot of parents like you that come in, and I don't mean to leave you without hope, but that's exactly what he did. I just want you to see it how it is. And this is how it is, and there's a limitation to matter. Isn't that cool that it's a chiropractic principle too, right? There's a limitation of matter. He literally said that, and there's nothing that's coming back from this. And so we were in a little bit of a state of disbelief. We had tried everything, gone to the top of the top, and there wasn't any answers for us. So then stepped in a friend of ours that was more a friend of my parents than us. I had seen him a few years earlier for a sports injury, but he was a chiropractor. His name was Dr. Roberts. He was out in Arizona, and he'd been practicing for a really long time. He was in his 50s, and he made the comment to me. We were at a get-together with our parents, with our son a few months later, and he said, "Hey, do you think I could, see Micah? I think I could help you." See, with Micah, he wasn't only struggling with the developmental delays, he was a colicky kid. He wasn't sleeping, he wasn't eating very well, he wasn't growing very well. He was, just everything. And I remember just staying up at night, just bouncing on a ball and being like, "Oh my God, there's got to be an easier way with this." And Dr. Roberts said, "Hey, bring him in. Let me see if I can help him." So we committed to it. We said, we'll get him there as much as we can. We lived about an hour and a half away. We didn't care. We're going to go. We had no hope. We had no one else that was giving us any hope, and he said he wanted to help. So we drove there. My wife got him there by the grace of God 2 to 3 times a week, as much as she could. And guess what? Micah started getting better. Things started to improve. He wasn't, he was sleeping. He was happy. He was starting to do things like he'd never done. Like he didn't have any head control. He had complete low tone. He was starting to get his tone up. And it was awesome. It was incredible, some of the changes we had seen, especially for me, who had no idea about all this stuff. And so, I continued to think about that and put that in its place. And we were still doing a lot of other therapies too. And at that point, I was really committed to my job, really committed to the corporate world and moving ahead. And I thought that was what was best for my family. And we decided to move to Illinois. Decided to move to Illinois because that's where I could get promoted. That's where we could be a little bit closer to my wife's family. And it was the right move. So moved back to Illinois. And first thing